So, good afternoon again. So, now I'd like to invite all for the session back again. So, I'm really sorry for the network issues which has been happening continuously right now for a couple of times. I'm so sorry about the network issue which happened. And here, before telling him, I know him really well, and as speaker Pati Pesno Aptina, like he is one good speaker I have ever met. Like he always come front to help all the startups in the ecosystem. So I'd like to invite Vishnu sir, as well as I'll share a video to introduce. Yeah, 1 minute, sir.
Startup Culture presents Let's Startup 3.0.
We are back again with a new set of brilliant minds. We present to you Vishnu VG, a seasoned strategy management consultant and market research professional, as the next speaker for our event. He has 10 years of experience in strategy consulting and market research and has worked across diverse verticals ranging from IT, engineering, R&D, telecom, retail, etc. If you're curious to know more about his areas of expertise, then do tune in.
Startup Culture presents.
Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us today, sir. Yeah, you can go.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Thanks a lot, Raghavi, for your beautiful introduction. So, hello, all. Very good afternoon to everybody. So, today I'm going to cover more on market research. So, I hope all of you had a good lunch. And this session is going to be like your normal lecturing session, because this is one such topic where it will not be so interesting, but again it's a interesting topic also for you if you are curious to understand how exactly that one should research, how exactly that research can help you to take your businesses to the next level or to improve yourself to the next level. Then I hope this will be an interesting session. So I will try to keep it as interesting as possible, though this includes a lot of definitions and all. Some of you might have learned in your colleges or in your curriculum. So let me just share my screen. I hope my presentation is visible.
Sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
So today we will look into what is market research, why market research, the structure of market research. So many people these days claim that they do market research, but again, there is a huge process behind that. Just doing some random research doesn't mean that it is a market research. When one should do a market research, why market research for startups? So I see a lot of budding entrepreneurs and students in this forum, so that it will be helpful for you to understand how market research plays a critical role in these components, when you should start it, why you should start it, and how to do the research, right? So in general, if you see, a market research process can span from the initial stage, that is right from the ideation stage or even before ideation stage, to getting your enterprises on the running part, and also your long-term sustenance, right? So to give you a very quick example, you might have heard about Forbes 50, Fortune 100 companies. So in the last decade, if you see, or in the last 100 years rather, till 2000, if you see companies who were in the Fortune 100 before 2000, almost half of them are not there today, because of the digital disruption which has happened, because of internet, and because of many other things which has happened in the world. To give you an example, companies like Amazon's or let's say YouTube, Flipkart, these companies have come into the picture, and all your traditional companies have gone out of the picture, right? So one of the reasons which they have failed is because of the lack of market research which they have done, or something they might have done it, and they were not able to compete it with the market. But again, research would have played a very huge role there, right? So according to the books, what is market research? So it's the process of determining the viability of a new service or a product, right? So market research is nothing but, so in general, we researchers we used to have the statement, right? So getting the watch from you and telling you the time. So we act like an astrologer for companies or corporates or startups. So we predict what is going to happen. Again, these are through a lot of theories and a lot of systematic frameworks, models that we have built so far. When I say we traditionally a lot of management experts or management gurus, whatever they have built, that's been followed till date, and we have had a lot of revamp in that, and right now with digital and analytics playing a very major role, we have to ensure that these models are intact and we are there, right? So market research also helps you to understand what are the target markets, to get a feedback from about your customers. So I will split market, why we have to do market research, to help to understand what is happening in the market. It can be to understand how your company is performing. It can be to understand what are the general industry trends. It can be to understand what is your competitor doing, right? So one is on market, the second one is on your customers. So without understanding or knowing about your customers' moods or customers' behavior, it is pretty tough to sell something to them, or on a long term the customers will not stick with you, right? So they will always move towards the newer things which comes into the market. So there are a lot of examples which I can throw away. So where one new technology disruption has happened, customers moving from the older methods to the newer methods. So just take case of your day-to-day examples, right? We all of us use Paytm, all of us use a lot of financial products like that, where the traditional banking, or how many of us even have a bank account these days, right? So we just have this digital money. So that's where you lose your competition. Once you do a proper market research, then you are there on the game. One other example which I can give you, let's say Ola's and Uber. The traditional taxi ecosystem or the cab ecosystem is getting highly disrupted. Your Amazons or Flipkarts, Walmart, the digital part of it, the e-commerce part of it, how your local Kirana stores are getting impacted by that, right? So all these is because if those companies have done a good market research, they would have sustained the competition. Again, when I told you about Walmart, that's one company who actually predicted Amazon being a strong competitor, and they also came into the digital presence to match up with the traditional brick and mortar model as well, right? So it's a very critical tool helping companies understand what the consumers want, to develop new products, to improvise your new products, to expand your businesses. Anything if you have to do strategically, you have to have the service of a market research, right? So again, as I said, we can divide market research solutions scattering across 4 major themes. So one is for customers, one is for competitors, market, and talent. Talent, when I say it, is the people, right? So I will just talk about all of this very quickly. So knowing about the customer behavior, I already covered up on that part. Competitors also be covered. Market, it's again a pretty important thing, right? So just building a product will not help you to solve or will not help you to get the product into your market. You also should understand who are your target audience, where should I sell this product, right? So geographically, if you have to span across and move out,
without doing a proper market research on these markets, what are the trends that is happening in the market, right? So today, if you see the examples which I gave, India is moving into a digital economy. Though that's a true statement, even a lot of infrastructure issues and many other issues we have still has to be figured out, right? But this is a problem statement which, if someone would have solved it 5 years before, they are the market leaders today. Then market research also helps in identifying or solving problems in the talent side. So when I say talent, it is on people, right? So traditionally, any technology companies, they used to hire Java developers, or they used to hire C++ experts, right? So these days, with those skills, though it act as a base knowledge, how many companies are hiring for it, right? So we need professionals with digital skills in new age technologies like AI or machine learning. So all these connecting dots can be mapped through a proper market research, right? So that's where these four elements are very critical for any companies to go forward or to run their business. So this is an overall pyramid of the market research structure. So in generally, there are two classifications of research which we can do: primary research and secondary research. So primary research is a first-hand information, where you go and do the surveys, you interview people, right? So this can be of two scenarios. So if you have a B2C clients, let's say you are you have developed, or you are running a business which manufactures or which produces juice, right? So, and let's say you have some XYZ differentiation of your juice. So understanding how well that juice will perform through a lot of surveys, a lot of interviews, that's called primary research. So let's say if you have a B2B customer, then interviewing some of the competitors, interviewing some of your existing customers, that's what you can do through primary research. So secondary research is already published information. So doing a primary research is much more complicated, because you need to put time, efforts, money, everything to that. But if you are an early stage startup, or if you are in a budding product stage, you need to go with that model. So secondary research is something which is already published by someone, or which is already there. It can be in any of your internet sites, internet portals. It can be in your from your books, magazines, whatever is published data, that's the secondary research. So it does not take much of an effort, though some of the problem statements which you might be looking for, if it is complicated, then it is tough, right? So otherwise, secondary research is you just sit in your place. And these days, after Google search has happened, it has become so simple that whatever you want to search under the globe, you can do it right from your seat, right? And then there are two types of research. So one is called qualitative research, and one is quantitative research. These are all very direct terms, so you know what these will cover, right? So but let me talk about the lower pyramid. So we can do a research study, or why research is used is across any of these, right? So identifying your market profiling and segmentation. So this includes, so let's say you have developed a new product, you want to know whom you should target, whether you should target the teenagers, whether this product is for older people, is it for the mid-income class, or is it for the rich income or the top income class? What kind of segmentation that I should be doing? All these studies is again classified under a market research study. So new product concept analysis survey, that's again comes under the bucket of market research. The competition survey, which I told, price analysis, you can study about that. You can study about the SWOT analysis. It can be for your company, it can be for you, it can be for your competitor, it can be for the market. So in general, there will be product research, industry research, market research. That's how the
Generally, a consulting company, or if you work with the researchers, that's how they look into, or that's the lenses. Competitive product and market positioning, customer intention, customer attitudes, brand equity. All these are some of the types of researchers, or the kind of studies which you can do under market research, which can help you to potentially take your business and also to product to the next level. So some of the industries using market research, all the industries use it. So this is just of the top industries. So it's often stated that over 60% of new businesses fail within the first year of trading, right? So this is a very interesting quote, but this is a reality. So again, this is based on a pure market research study. Researchers have spent a lot of time on analyzing this. So if you are a book reader, there are some very good books which a lot of authors have written on how a lot of businesses have succeeded or failed because of not doing a proper market research, right? So when to do market research? So there is no time like that. You always have to be on the game. If you have to be a market leader, if you have to sell the product, if you want to be in a financially sound position, you have to do market research on a daily basis, right? So even one day, if you don't do it, the threat of competition will kill away your business, right? So and again, it is regularly important to us assess what your competitors are doing, what is your strength, weakness. Especially, let's say, if you are a startup, you have to be very careful, right? So all of you will have a question. I am a startup, but I have an idea or I am afraid that my idea will be taken by my competitor if I start it, or if my idea will be taken by a large company if I start it. Right. So how can you tackle that? So market research is one of the way which you can leverage to do this, right? So instead of them studying about you, you go and study about them. You don't give any clue to them, and you operate on that model. You can work it. I think even Raghavi, when I met her first time, she also had the same question. She also had some idea where she was also interested to know how can I protect my idea. Because this is some idea which, if any competitors knows or if large companies knows, can be easily tracked, right? So this can be solved through a proper market research if you do it on a daily basis. So this can be very crucial during all stages of your businesses, identifying your customers, identifying your business locations, the opportunities that you have in a specific market. So different companies will have different opportunity, right? So to give you again a failure case, companies like Walmart or Starbucks, they did not succeed really well in China because they did not understand the local culture or the local ecosystem. So even if you see the McDonald's or the Domino's or the Pizza Huts of the world, who is having an operation in India, they have a lot of customized products which will end of the day, which will help us or which will be in related to what is our taste are, right? So without that, if they still follow what they have been doing in their headquarters, they might not succeed it here. So that's why you add some masala to it, you get the Indian flavor. That's what they did, right? So market research for startups, from ideation stage to an enterprise and to your sustenance, research is very different, very much important, right? So before pre-seed or at the idea stage itself, it is very important for every one of us to know whether my idea is good, whether someone has it or not, right? So there are a lot of sites which you can refer to give you an example. There is a site called Crunchbase which studies about all the global startups, though the penetration of them is low in India. You can still refer to them, and it can be also a base for you to go there and see what kind of startups are evolving in the US and maybe bring a model where the Indian startup or the Indian ecosystem can offer, right? So many students have asked this question as well. So I don't have any idea, but I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to be, let's say, I want to start something of my own, but I don't know what the idea is. So go through these websites, you will understand what kind of problems are the or those startups solving. And in general, in always Indian startups has copy pasted what the other startups or other global startups have been doing, especially the US startups, because you have the technology power and all other stuff there. But now the value chain of the Indian startups or the value creation of the Indian startups is also very humongous, that a lot of innovative ideas are created not just from the tier 1 cities, from tier 2 cities like Coimbatore, and even the tier 3 cities, right? So for a startup, market research should be there in every stage. So in pre-seed stage, you can use market research for your idea validation, idea vetting, and many others. During the seed stage, you can use a lot of various techniques, market research techniques, like the interviews which you want to do, understand where you want to take the product, how you want to position the product, what should be the cost of my product. All of this comes under the market research pyramid, or it can be classified. This is what market research is called, right? So when you go for Series A, Series B, then comes the threat of competition there. You study about the competition. Then you also have to expand your business, right? So today, if you just, let's say if you're starting something in Coimbatore, and if it is a B2C market, you can just sustain it with one market. You might have to move to some smaller markets or some larger markets. There again, you need the power of the market research. And then once you are public, the top corporates, top companies, let's say top companies like your Microsoft or Amazon or GE, all of them have separate market research market research teams in-house, and they also work with different market research agencies, right? So that's why they are still sustaining the competition. That's why they are still there in the market. So why market research for startups? Identifying revenue opportunities. This again, as I said, this might be in your seed stage, post-seed stage, when your product is matured, you have built a prototype, you are reaching the market, identifying the revenue opportunities. Sometimes you might have thought that I will cater to only, let's say, X people or X gender, but then you suddenly feel that no, I have to position it through Y gender. So how can you know that? You just have to do the research. You just by many startup founders, something which I have found again is once they start selling it, they stop researching about the product. That's why a lot of startups are going to the failure mode as well, right? So you have to keep on upskilling yourself as well as upskilling your business through a proper market research functioning. So pricing, the competitor weakness, identifying your competitor strength, spotting the trends. Again, that's the biggest advantage of doing research, right? So a very simple way of doing it is, let's say if you are into a retail business, let's say if you are into a food supply business, you have Google alerts, right? So on a daily basis, you can just give some keyword query to Google so that you can customize it, right, based on the region, keywords, everything. So I want to know what is happening in Microsoft. Let's take Microsoft an example. And if I want to know what is Microsoft doing on a daily basis, you can leverage Google keywords or Google searches, where on a daily basis they help you to send the news or article wherever Microsoft is tagged, right? So that helps you to understand what they are doing. You don't have to spend a lot of efforts. There are very simple tools, very brilliant tools available in the market which can ease your business, right? So in order to win your marketing messages, right? So even that's a very important thing. So if you have to create brand awareness, you have to create some really good messages so that it goes into the people's heart and they love for your brand. Then identify a new offering. This is again the product expansion part. your customer satisfaction interviews. So these days, all of them do surveys. I think even when we stop this meeting, if you are not in other than YouTube, if you are in Zoom or if you are in some other softwares like that, you will be asked for a rating, right? So all these are one way or other way of doing a feedback. Whenever you purchase from Amazon, whenever you do some transaction in Paytm, everyone, they ask for that stars, 5 stars, you give them, right? So whenever you give a 1 star or 2 star, they understand, okay, there is some problem which they have to deal with, right? So this is how market research works. So it might not be everywhere, it might not be doing a research or doing a study. These kind of some simpler techniques also is a way of doing research. So again, elevate your digital presence. So now these days, without having more digitalization, you will not be on the game. That's how the world is emerging, or that's how the technologies are pushing businesses to do. So as is your visibility in search engine, social media, for all these, you need to do a proper market research, right? So even improving the content in your website, what you should have in the website, what not. So what you have is a must, and what not you should have is something which you should give prior importance. That also can be achieved through a market research study. So now I'm moving into types of market research, how you can do market research, right? So, or what are the different modes or types again. So you can do interviews, focus groups is you select only few people. So let's say if you cater your product to three areas, let's say Chennai, Coimbatore, and Madurai, and you want to do, and your product is not performing well in, let's say, Madurai alone, then you do a focus group interview, right? So understand why is that your product is not doing well there, through an interview or through an survey. Go meet face-to-face people. So there are companies who does that, right? So you might have got a lot of feedback calls like this. Sometimes it might be irritating for us to answer, but end of the day, that in a way we are also beneficiary for that, because these data will help the companies who are selling their products to better improve the quality of the product or the service that they can do for us. So that's the third one, the product or service or the use research. Observation-based research is you call your customers. So let's say this again can be a very brilliant model for startups, early stage startups. You call all your customers. Maybe it can be like a meeting. So there was one Kirti Suresh movie which recently came up on Netflix. I don't remember the name of that movie, but she did that, right? So that's a very good example. So she called she went to US where tea was not there, only it was coffee market. So she invited a group of people, gave them the tea or chai, and then made the market penetration. That exactly is the fourth point. You observe how your customers are behaving when the product is given. You will get a lot of understanding from that. Buyer persona research. So this is based on the buyer preferences. Again, all these can be included in the type 1. So market segmentation research is, I already covered that, what kind of markets that you have to cover. Pricing research, again, when we study about the competitors, this is also one of the parameters that you study. Competitive analysis research, this you might go to different markets, and there will be different kind of players. There will be large players, there will be mid players, there will be small players. We have to see where we are, who will be our direct competitors, indirect competitors, etc. and etc. So customer satisfaction and loyalty research, that's what normally in supermarkets you will see at end of the POS. You will be asked for a survey, you will be asked for doing loyalty kind of stuff. Brand awareness research, campaign research, all these are again different type of market research studies. So this is a new age trend. So you do some short surveys, you do in-house researchers. When I say in-house researchers, you will have your own team who can do the research, right? So generally large teams will have both in-house research as well as they go to external management consulting companies or market research companies. Longitudinal tracking is tracking the customers end to end, just like how Google is doing, right? So whatever you do, you purchase a phone, you go to US, you go to some other place, or you do anything, Google know that you are doing this. That's longitudinal tracking. And what they're doing based on that, they always improve the offering. They always customize their offering. That's what we have to take it from here. So quality data collection, online qualitative research, emotion surveys. That's a new type of models that are bringing in, right? So based on customer emotions also, they place the product. They know when the customer is moody or when the customer is happy. Suppose this again is connected with a lot of other parameters. So I think one of the the last session, when I got a chance to look at the speaker was saying that you don't wait for anything to happen, you just hit it. The most bad thing which will happen is that you fail, right? So that's exactly where the emotion surveys also happens. So based on their emotions, they will try to sell the product. If it succeeds, that's a good thing for them. If not, that's okay. So instant responses, you can monitor instant responses through all the new age tools or the new age research trends, because the customer is in very close loop or closely connected through any of the digital mediums, especially if you are in the B2C market. Social listening, so whatever you post in Facebook, whatever you post in Twitter, all these are tagged by the companies, or all these are again studied by companies using a lot of algorithms or machine learning models. So these are all again a subset of your market research, right? So this is a very intensive part. So once you fail to do it, then only you understand the impact of it. So yeah, and then AI assisted data collection is the automatic feedbacks which comes in. So there are a plethora of tools available or resources. So some of them are like LinkedIn, which is a very good tool, right? So you get a lot of information from them. You might have used it only, or you might have till date you might have thought it's only a social networking tool, or let's say it's only for jobs. But no, if you are a startup founder, if you want to get into that area, or if you want to be an entrepreneur, it helps really, right? So even a lot of companies, let's say we know that Tirupur and Coimbatore is the hub for textile. If you have to sell it to global players like your any of the garment manufacturers or any of the apparels or footwear manufacturers, that's LinkedIn is one of the best source, right? So you also understand to know what they are doing, how they are behaving, and you also get connected with them, and a lot of other things can be done through one single tool called LinkedIn. So that's one tool. Crunchbase, I spoke about this tool. This tool is where you get a lot of information about startups. So do check this website once. So these are some of the other tools. Again, for different industries and different purpose, the kind of tools varies. Right? Some of them are for social media related research which you wanted to do. Some of them are for your business expansion and growth. And in general, if you have to do anything on the competitor analysis and many other things, you have to go through many other sources. Like Owler is one of the company which is based out of Coimbatore, though it's a US company, they have an office here. They also provide a lot of insights about companies and their management, users, and many other stuff. So that's majorly which I had today. So I thought I will stop here because too much of theory will also be not so interesting. So if there are any questions, I can take it up.
Thank you so much. Actually, the session was really great, so deep actually. So, ஏன்னா ஒரு மார்க்கெட் அனாலிசிஸ் பண்ணும்போது பேசிக்கா நம்ம கஷ்டப்பட போறது வந்து அந்த எந்தெந்த வெப்சைட்ஸ்ல எங்க போய் தேடணும்னே தெரியாது. மோஸ்ட் இம்பார்ட்டன்ட் ப்ராப்ளம் தட் ஐ யூஸ் டு ஃபேஸ் எவ்ரி டைம். ஸோ எங்க போய் எதை தேடுறதுனே தெரியாத போது தேங்க்யூ ஸோ மச் ஃபார் ஆடிங் ஆல் தோஸ் வேல்யூஸ் டு அஸ். ஸோ ஹியர் டு த ஆடியன்ஸ், do you have any questions? ஏதாவது questions இருந்ததுன்னா you can share it in the chat box so that we can ask sir. As well as sir, I have a couple of questions. So number one is, what's your favorite book?
Favorite book?
Book, yeah.
So unfortunately, I don't read books at all. So
Oh, really? Nice. So who's your most inspiring? Okay, yes, sir.
So I actually read a lot of blogs and all, but not really books, because I did not inculcate that as a habit from my childhood. But I read a lot of management and theories kind of books, not any fictional books or something.
Wow, great. So what's your favorite management book, sir? Blogs?
Not specifically one or two sources. Again, all these are crowdsourced websites which I look into. There is nothing specifically that I want.
Okay. Okay, sir. So what's your favorite, experience or any favorite person who inspired you? One person who made you feel like, wow, I have to be like in this work. Someone who did that. Yes, sir.
So it is my mentor. So he unfortunately is no more. So he passed away 3 years back. So his name is Setu. So he is a person with brilliant capabilities across any industries. You ask anything, he will give you a solution for that. So he is also one of the member in Coimbatore Management Association, Productivity Council, TAI, and many other organizations. He was the president, and he was having a lot of titles. If he would have thought about having a job in a Fortune 500 company or a Fortune 100 company, he could have done it. But he did not take up those things because he was much focused on creating an ecosystem, local ecosystem. And he was born from a very poor family. So even his education and everything was sponsored by many people. So the first time he traveled to Coimbatore, so he's from a village near Pollachi. The first time he traveled to Coimbatore is for his MBA. He's a gold medalist from PSG MBA back in 1970s. So he is a true inspiration for me. So he has given a lot about a lot of understanding, or he has taught on how life should be and all dimensions of it, right? So not just the business dimensions, your spiritual goals, your personal goals, professional goals. So you have to divide it into 4 buckets. So all these are his thoughts. And he was also a member, a governing council member and an advisor for a lot of colleges, including the top colleges in Coimbatore, top companies, top industries in Coimbatore.
Great, sir. So what's your most the biggest failure that you faced, and what is the lesson you learned from it, sir?
Biggest failure, I would say, so there are a lot of failures, so I don't know which one to pick. All of them, I would say, have weighted equally. So I don't know what exactly how I have to answer for this question, but what I did to overcome the failure is, even if I know that some of them will definitely fail, I still tried doing that, right? So till I got it on the right path, or till I got it on the exact ways or the exact directions. So you will definitely face a lot of failures. It's not that you will never face failures. Nobody except, I think, Rajinikanth's movie will have that. Or maybe he will first fail and then he will succeed only. So Nobody or in real life that doesn't happen a lot. You have to do experimentation. Life itself is an experimentation, so do that, but don't over pressure yourself. And if you are not confident about anything, drop it, right? So then there is no point in doing it. If you're not interested, if you're not confident, just drop it at that point itself and go do the next task.
Great. So absurd. And and how do you even handle your clients? I have seen you have around 70 people, 70 people of junior team under you, and there are other team as well. How do you even manage people, and how do you even manage teams? So how do you operate?
So I think it is 150 people. So last time when we connected, it was 70. So today we are at 150. That's something which I enjoy as well. So managing your clients, managing your people it's a pretty tough job again. Again, if you have the proper systems in place, a proper methodology in place, then everything will happen, right? So you have to be as agile as possible, and you have to align yourself with what you wanted to do, foresee what will happen, right? So all these are some of the things which we learn through our business itself. So we are into the research business. This is what we advise our client. So if we don't practice, then we can't advise the client, right? So one of them is managing about people. So the art of managing it is pretty difficult. So you will have many
Is
people.
sorry to interrupt, sir. Is there any technology, or is there any like tools or technology which you use to manage people, or is that through Excel sheet or that kind, sir?
Again, when you say people management, to measure your performance, you have a lot of tools. And again, these days, there are end-to-end tools which also proposes or which also helps recruiters or the HR team to understand whether that specific person will stay in your company, how long will he stay in your company, what are his current moves, and many things, right? So all these again is based on some of the things which I already spoke, like the emotions research, or and what they do is, let's say if your profile is in any of the job portals like Naukri or LinkedIn, there are companies who checks that and gives you the report back to your HR, right? So all these companies do that, and they monitor it. It is quite possible to do it through technologically, but end of the day, without the human essence, it is still really tough, right? So you have to be with your people, support them, understand what is there, and again, many of them would have read about all these stuff, right? So praise your people for their good work, even if they're not doing it. Don't blame them or don't harass them in front of the audience. Do it inside a room, right? Just with them. So many best practices if you follow with your team. And recently, I think there was one article from the Zoho founder. So he also spoke about how you should value your employees who are contributing to your organization. So many organizations, what they do is they don't see the value creation that an employee is doing. Only once they leave, they feel the gap, and then they will be crying for that, right? So some of them, they will say this is something which is there in the game. But some organizations with good organization culture, I don't see that they follow this model. That's why they succeed. So Zoho success, we know, right? So many people who have stayed with them are staying for almost 5 years, 10 years, or more than that. So that's
the retention is
correct.
The retention is,
yes. Even if the organization is true to you, even if you are not given a hike during a cycle, that's okay, right? So if the organization is showing what the efforts which you have been put, if they are recognizing that and acknowledging that, the employees or the people will be true to you.
Great. Thank you so much, sir. And final question. So, what do you think that a student or a person who is going to there is a question as well before that. I'm sorry, and I'll shift this question to the last, and I'll ask this question. So, people are asking, "What's your goal, sir?"
My goal.
Yeah.
So, my goal is to. Again, if you, I don't know if most of you on what I have did in the last 3 years. So I was working in Bangalore, and I have moved back to Coimbatore to set up an extension of our company's I mean, the Bangalore company's extension here. So this is majorly done for a couple of things, right? So one is to see or give the talent here, the potential talent in Coimbatore, the opportunities here. So we all know that Coimbatore is a hub for education, but how many companies have actually given opportunities to them, right? So and people also travel from here to other cities for for any jobs, right? So that's one thing which we did in the last 3 years. We have ramped up from 12 people to 150 people today, and our goal is to double it up in the, let's say, by end of this year or by mid of next year. And we are opening different alleys of our business. So initially it was research, then we had our sales coming here, we have data science today, we have analytics today, we are expanding our technology team. So my goal right now is to work on these things, right? So expand our business presence here, give more of opportunities for the fresh talent or the experienced talent in tier 2, tier 3 locations. Though we are in Coimbatore, almost 70% of our people are not from Coimbatore, they are from nearby places like Pollachi or Udamalpet or Palani or many other places, right? So that's an impact that we are, or our organization as a whole was able to do, and I'm happy that I'm also a part of it. So taking it to the next levels, that's my goal now.
Great. And there is one more question, sir. அதாவது ரிசர்ச் பண்ணணும்னு சொல்றது இட்ஸ் pretty ஈஸி, பட் ரிசர்ச்சை வந்து எடுக்கிறது வந்து ரொம்ப கஷ்டமா இருக்கு. ஸோ அதை எப்படி எஃபெக்டிவா பண்ண முடியும் அப்படின்னு கேட்டிருக்காங்க சார்.
ஸோ எஃபெக்டிவாக ரிசர்ச் பண்ணணும்னா இப்போ ஃபர்ஸ்ட் வந்து நீங்கள் ப்ராப்ளம் ஸ்டேட்மெண்ட் என்னென்னு இருக்கிறத பார்க்கணும். ஸோ ஓரோ இண்டஸ்ட்ரீஸுக்கு ஓரோ ப்ராப்ளம் ஸ்டேட்மெண்ட் இருக்கும், ஆர் ஈவன் ஓரோ பிஸ்னஸஸுக்கு ஓரோ ப்ராப்ளம் ஸ்டேட்மெண்ட் இருக்கும். இப்போ ரெண்டு பிஸ்னஸஸ், லெட்ஸ் சே கோக் அண்ட் பெப்சி. ஸோ ரெண்டுத்துக்கும் both of them, what they do, they sell beverages, right? So almost taste wise வந்து a bit of a different, ரெண்டு பேருக்கும் ஒன்றா தான் இருக்கும். But the kind of problem which they have to do, இப்போ Coca-Colaக்கு வந்து it can be a problem with their market. For Pepsi it can be a internal problem that they want to solve. So major first வந்து research பண்ணும்போது you have to define the problem statement well. So on the define பண்ணதுக்கு அப்புறம் you have a lot of frameworks and frameworks that you have to adopt. So இப்போ Blue Ocean strategy-ன்னு கேட்டிருப்பீங்க, PESL analysis-ன்னு கேட்டிருப்பீங்க, SWOT analysis-ன்னு கேட்டிருப்பீங்க. அந்த மாதிரி நிறைய frameworks இருக்கு. ஸோ அந்த frameworks-ல எந்த framework நம்ம யூஸ் பண்ணணும் இருக்கிறது வந்து we have to define. ஸோ அந்த ப்ராப்ளம் ஸ்டேட்மெண்ட்டுக்கு அப்புறம் have to define which process is it, right? So whether I should go for a primary research, whether I should go for a secondary research. இப்போ primary researchனா அதில் என்னெல்லாம் questions நான் கேட்கணும். ஸோ நிறைய பேர் என்ன தப்பு பண்ணுவாங்கன்னா, இப்போ ஒரு சின்ன ப்ராப்ளம் தான் எனக்கு வந்து தெரியணும், அதுக்கு 25 கொஸ்டின் அவன் கொஸ்டினர்ல போட்டிருப்பான். உனக்கு என்ன டேட்டா என்ன ப்ராப்ளம் வேணுமோ அது மட்டும் நீ ஃபர்ஸ்ட் கேளு, அது மட்டும் நீ ஃபோக்கஸ் பண்ணா போதும். பட் why are you getting into other? ஸோ அந்த மாதிரி 25 கொஸ்டின் நீ போட்டு இது பண்ணும்போது ஆடியன்ஸ் will not be happy to answer that, right? So that's one thing. So இந்த மாதிரி ஓரோ ஸ்டேஜஸ்லையும் you have to define what you have to do, what is your end objective, right? So define your problem statement and define your end objective. So if you define these two and the processes in between, then it will be proper research methodology. And again, இப்போ ஒரு சில problems வந்து we can do it in a day. Sometimes ஒரு மணி நேரம் கண்டுபிடிக்கலாம். Sometimes it will take even 2-3 months. So some of the projects which big companies do, right? So it will be 3 to 6 months. இப்போ புதுசா R&D பண்ணி நான் ஒரு ப்ராடக்ட் லான்ச் பண்ணணும்னா it takes 3 years. ரைட். ஸோ அந்த R&D பண்ணும்போது இப்போ நான் பேட்டன்டிங் பண்ணணும். நான் ஒரு தடவை இப்போ லெட்ஸ் சே ஐ அம் இன் கார் இண்டஸ்ட்ரி, இப்போ மாருதி வந்து ஒரு பேட்டன்ட் பண்ணாங்கன்னா that anyhow will go into a public portal. அப்போ வந்து there is a threat from Toyota, there is a threat from let's say many other companies. So இந்த மாதிரி இருக்கும்போது market research பண்ணாம we can't go or take it up to the next level. So this is how you generally have to operate.
Great. And I'd like to ask one more thing. Sorry, I'm adding up questions.
No
So, would you like to share any case study that you came across? One good case study. நீங்க வந்து ஷேர் பண்ணணும்னு நினைச்சா நீங்க எந்த கேஸ் ஸ்டடி ஷேர் பண்ணுவீங்க? இல்ல which was good, which was so interesting அந்த மாதிரி ஏதாவது கேஸ் ஸ்டடி இருக்கா சார்?
So again, I can't reveal any of the client-related case studies because those are all confidential ones. So we have helped a lot of companies to come up and set up their India centers, right? So I will talk about that. So in general, I can talk about it. So we have today about 1,500 plus MNCs with core R&D India la pandranga. So this has started from the year 2000. So 2000s எல்லாம் பாத்தீங்கன்னா it was less than 100 or less than 50. அவள MNCs தான் இந்தியால இருந்துச்சு. So அப்பதான் our IT market or என்ன market இருந்தாலும் it started growing. So then we helped a lot of them to set up their centers here and see what is the value addition that the centers can make, right? So இப்பவே வந்து பாத்தீங்கன்னா so first வந்து MNCs இந்தியாவுக்கு வந்தாங்க low cost, அதனால வந்தாங்க. அதுக்கப்புறம் வேல்யூ அடிஷன். ஸோ வி ஸ்டார்டட் ப்ரொவைடிங் வேல்யூ அடிஷன் பிகாஸ் ஆஃப் த குட் எஜுகேஷனல் சிஸ்டம் தட் வி ஹேட் அண்ட் they did not go to China because a lot of local issues, political issues. சைனால போனால் சைனீஸ் பார்ட்னர்ஷிப் வேணும், 50% ஸ்டேக் கொடுக்கணும், அந்த மாதிரி நிறைய ப்ராப்ளம் இருக்கு. We don't have that. Now we are turning into innovation centers or COEs ன்னு சொல்லுவாங்க. So center of excellences, right? So this cycle was possible for MNCs through in the Madri use cases or through these research methodologies. And today, since we are in the startup ecosystem, or we are talking about the startup, many companies have their own accelerators. So, Microsoft have their own accelerator. Intuit has. VMware has, and many corporate companies also have accelerators, right? So in the so we have helped some of the companies to set up their accelerators as well to run the program. So all these are opportunities for the Indian businesses, the Indian talent, and also the Indian startups to get into there, right? So that's some of the interesting cases that we have solved.
Great, sir. Great. So I'll check if there is any other questions. I don't think so. So I'll ask my final question. So the question is, one thing that you wanted to share to the students who are watching this program. அவங்க வந்து ஜாப்க்கு போகணும்னு நினைக்கலாம், இல்ல அவங்க வந்து ஒரு பிசினஸ் ஆரம்பிக்கணும்னு நினைக்கலாம். ஸோ தீஸ் யங் மைண்ட்ஸ் வந்துட்டு ஒரு இன்ஃபர்மேஷன் நீங்க ஷேர் பண்ணணும் இவங்களுக்காக அப்படின்னு நீங்க நினைச்சீங்கன்னா வாட் would be?
Okay. Yeah. So as I already said, right? So define your goals predetermined. So இப்போ நீங்க வந்து second year, third year இருக்கும்போது you have to have a 3-year plan. So you should have a short-term plan. You should have a long-term plan, right? So and on a daily basis rework on it. So நிறைய பேர் கண்டிப்பா daily basisல பண்ண மாட்டோம், அது தெரிஞ்ச விஷயம் தான். ஸோ அட்லீஸ்ட் ஒரு மந்த்லி ஒரு தடவை, ஒரு வீக்லி ஒரு தடவை, வருஷத்துல ஒரு தடவை, அந்த மாதிரியாச்சும் நீங்க ட்ரை, யூ ஷுட் டூ இட், ரைட்? ஸோ தட் இஸ் கம்பல்சரி திங் தட் எவ்ரி ஒன் ஆஃப் யூ ஷுட் டூ. ஸோ ஆல்வேஸ் ஓப்பன் டு ஆப்பர்ச்சுனிட்டி. ஸோ என்ன நடக்குதுன்னு இருக்கிறது வந்து நீங்க யூ ஷுட் அப்சர்வ் what's happening in and around, not just இப்போ உங்க காலேஜ்ல என்ன நடக்குது இல்ல ஃபேஸ்புக்ல என்ன நடக்குதுன்னு இருக்கிறது விட்டுட்டு இப்போ ஒரு இண்டஸ்ட்ரியில என்ன நடக்குது, ரைட்? ஸோ அந்த மாதிரி இருக்கிறதெல்லாம் யூ ஹாவ் டு சி. அண்ட் these days many companies and many colleges are investing in something called upskilling. So which means you have to move to the next ladder, right? So இப்போ ட்ரெடிஷ்னலா வந்து இப்போ ஒரு ஜாவா டெவலப்பர் மட்டும் இருக்கிறவங்கள எப்படி நான் ஒரு டேட்டா சயின்டிஸ்டா கன்வெர்ட் பண்ணணும், அதுதான் வந்து கார்பரேட்ஸ் யோசிக்கிறது. ஸோ தே நீட் டேட்டா சயின்டிஸ்ட். ஸோ அதே மாதிரி இப்போ நீங்க வந்து ஜென்ரலா ஒரு என்ஜினியரிங் கோர்ஸ் படிக்கிறீங்கல்ல, ஒரு ஆர்ட்ஸ் காலேஜ் படிக்கிறீங்கன்னா, வாட் எல்ஸ் யூ கேன் give in favor to the company so that you can go and directly get placed into a bigger role than what they generally hire, right? So upskilling means you do a lot of certifications, and the மாதிரி இருக்கிறதெல்லாம் you can do. And don't do 100 certifications. Just do one or two good certifications, but ensure that you are an expert in that, right? So that's what you have to do. And if you are if your aim is to get into an startup, or you want to create an own startup, or you want to create an entrepreneurship or a business, then what you have to do is definitely market research will have a very critical role, right? So spend quality time in researching on what are the hardships that people have. Just go to local market, right? Observe there for some time. You will get some ideas. So might not be from day one, you might not get an idea. You have to visit there 100 times, 50 times, talk to people, right? So talk to your peers, talk to all of them, right? So take all the positive things, forget about the negative things. So with that positives, if you connect the dots, you will definitely get something that you can build for sure. And there are a lot of problems still in the system. So you don't think very big, right? So I have to create let's say a Tesla, or I've seen some founders, they developed electric car, and he was comparing it with Tesla, even he did not have a prototype, right? So that's something which you should not do, or that's not good. Any investors will not like those kind of statements, right? So they will just not listen to you even if you convince them, right? So sometimes it might be possible, you might be able to do it, but in general, that kind of attitude. So have a very positive attitude, have a very good attitude, right? So I think if you keep all of these things in mind and then work, then definitely you will have a very successful life. So to give you an example, Raghavi, so she studies everything in depth, right? So and whenever she needs any help, she gets onto the people, she gets the work done at the end of the day. That's what you have to do, right? So focus on that.
Thank you so much on your comment as well. And before there is another question, what do you think about network marketing, sir?
So network marketing, is it like I believe what it's like the Amway model, if you are talking.
Yeah. It is.
So there are pros and cons in that. So some of them will work. So it all depends upon the product and what kind of, how your network marketing has to work, right? So Amway model, all of us know. So if you ask me as a market researcher, from a company's perspective, I will give a positive feedback. But from a customer perspective or a client, I might not give a positive feedback, right? So there are pros and cons. So if you are going with network marketing alone, just stick with that. Then don't go with your traditional retail or mortar or e-commerce, right? So because your end customers or whoever is depending on you and investing their time and efforts and money, they, at the end of the day, it's not just not just profit that you give for one specific period. It has to be for a longer period.
Sir?
For a longer period.